a mysterious and remote village, an English cartographer, a terrifying witch. Let's step back to the 18th century as we explore Forbidden Kingdom. Hello and welcome to the Bottled Imp, exploring the realms of fantasy. My name is Ken Boyter and today we're going to be looking at the 2015 UK release of Forbidden Kingdom. Now this is a Russian film and it is directed, and I'm dreading this bit, directed by a Russian called Oleg Stepchenko. I think that's how you pronounce his name. That's pretty good actually. I'll try that again. Oleg Stepchenko. And yes, as I say, it's Russian. It does star Jason Flemyng, however, I know how to pronounce his name. And it is a dark fantasy. As I say, it's Russian based, and it's based on the novel by Nikolai Gogol. Me and names, eh? And it's his novel, I think you pronounce it V. It's spelled in the Russian way, but I think you pronounce it V. So, let's find out whether or not the translation from novel to screen was a successful one or not. Forbidden Kingdom is a story, well, it's two stories really that intertwine. The first one, it all does take place early 18th century. Now the first one is in London, that's where the story opens, and it's a bit of a comical opening, and that kind of surprised me, I wasn't expecting that, and that's the story of Jason Flemyng. He plays a cartographer called Jonathan Green. Now I won't spoil it for you, but he is caught in a compromising position, I should say, and he has to kind of scarper out of the country pretty quickly, and he decides to do a scientific voyage. He wants to map unknown territories, so he basically goes off across to the east. Meanwhile, while that's all happening, there's a mysterious and spooky village where some horrible things start to happen. There's a kind of, well, this isn't really spoiling it. There's a drowning. And there's a witch involved. That's kind of what we're led to believe. And that's the setup of the two storylines. And eventually, those storylines collide. Where to begin with this film, to be honest? I don't normally do rants, but I think I'm going to do one today because this film had so much potential. It had everything that you kind of wanted in a fantasy film. It's dark fantasy, it has that mysterious, spooky setting. There's witches, there's black magic, there's quests, there's even a bit of a romance story going through it. There's everything. There's, monsters, creatures, and it is very, very creative. It's very imaginative. But unfortunately, it's such a wasted opportunity. The first law, I think it's the first law. I'm no expert in filmmaking, although I've done my fair share. But characterization, whatever happened to that? Unfortunately, all the characters aren't unique enough. There's so many cliches that's just piled, that doesn't make sense, but just topped and layered upon layered. The dialogue, again, can be a bit clunky and cliched at times. We've even got Charles Dance, who I think is a fantastic actor. Obviously, Game of Thrones is his most well-known, I guess, now. Fantastic actor. He is about the only one that manages to get away with being pretty good in this. And it's not the other actor's fault. It's the script. It's the characterization. There's none of that going on. I didn't give a hoot about any of the characters. In fact, at one point, I went off and made a cup of tea. I left it running. I didn't even pause the DVD. And I kind of still knew what was going on. Came back, and again, I just didn't care about it. Characterization, please, for the love of God. Just because it's a fantasy film, don't think you can just stick loads of monsters and goblins and whatever's in and it will be fine. Oh, and we'll have an action-packed, thrilling chase where this happens, that happens, and no, it's not going to cut it. I still need to care. A great example is Lord of the Rings. I cared for those characters. Game of Thrones, I care for those characters. This didn't give a monkeys about them, which is a shame. As I say, it has got positives in there though. The CGI work was pretty good, but again, because you kind of know it's all CGI, and because I didn't care about the characters, it fell flat a little bit. but it was still creative. They had some imaginative creatures that were created. They had imaginative twists and turns in the plot, so that was a plus point. But it didn't add up to anything. It was just, it felt like, and when it did get it kicked off and it started doing a bit, it was too fast paced. So the action was like, yeah, this after this after this. Didn't have time to breathe for the first half an hour of the film. Then it kind of all slowed down. It was a film that didn't really know what it wanted to be. The opening storyline was all comical. It reminded me of a Carry On film in parts, and not badly done. It was quite intriguing. Oh, a cartographer. That's not an overly used subject character. You don't really find that many stories about cartographers. Wasted opportunity. They had kind of almost steampunk-esque carriage that he had. It was a modified thing, so he was kind of an inventor as well. That didn't really make sense. And the storyline really just evaporated. The witch storyline, that seemed intriguing. They did a really good setup. It had really good set pieces. But again, it was all over the place. The film was uneven. It didn't make sense. It was incoherent. The plot, I lost track of what was going on at one point. And then on top of that, and I shouldn't let this sort of cloud my judgment, it was really strangely dubbed. Some of it, you had English actors speaking English. Some of it was clearly Russian actors speaking Russian, yet they were dubbed in English. And then I'm even sure that some of Jason Flemyng's dialogue was dubbed as well. It was very, very strange. In some scenes, I'm sure he was speaking another language, but it dubbed in English. And then that just added to the comical bits. The comical aspect of it, well, you didn't need it to be comical. They were trying to be serious in that bit. Very strange. Missed opportunity, as I say. They had so much going for it. They had a budget of $26 million. You can do so much with that. If they decided to do an out-and-out comedy, absolutely fine, not a problem. Do that. Shaun of the Dead is a brilliant comedy that's looking at the zombie genre, brilliantly done. But it knew what it was. It was comedy with dramatic bits in it. This wanted to be serious and comedy, but they didn't know which was the main priority, and it suffered for it. Some of the acting was over the top. It was a bit kind of hammy, but then that kind of added to the. It kind of fitted, but it kind of didn't. It was a bit of a mess. It wasn't even that bad that then the film becomes good, if you know what I mean. It actually kind of was close, but not entirely. So I just felt like, yeah, at the end of it, yeah, it was all right, it was good. It did have some positives, as I say. The special effects were pretty good, and some of the set pieces were very well done, very creative. Some of the monsters that they created, the look and the feel of them were good. Just disappointed in it. So come on, you can do better. When you make films, think of the characters. I want to care. What's their motivation? Some scenes, I had no idea why that scene was in it or what they were doing. Various characters just suddenly went off and did stuff. It didn't make sense. It wasn't cohesive enough. That said, would I recommend it? I wouldn't recommend it if you want to watch a really good fantasy film. I would recommend it if you're into filmmaking, because obviously it's a tricky art to pull off and do it really well. This was a good learning curve. The production did have some setbacks though. Apparently they started filming and then they decided they were going to film it in 3D. So they reshot loads of stuff. 3D, I can understand why, because there's lots of things happening on screen, but it didn't add to it, I would imagine. I didn't see it in 3D. Big shame. I really wished. It was a missed opportunity because they had the nuts and bolts and the story ideas that could have been a good fantasy film. Watch it. Let me know. I'm going to challenge you. Watch it and let me know what you think about it. Leave some comments below. There you go. Forbidden Kingdom. Rant over. It says here on the DVD cover, if you like Sleepy Hollow, you'll love this. Really? I can see where they're going with that, but Sleepy Hollow is a much better film. Anyway, you can see my blood has boiled. Hopefully I'm not going to get cursed by the witch. That was Forbidden Kingdom. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you'll be watching other reviews that we do. We do films, board games, and books, and other stuff too. We've also got a weekly show now, the Fantasy News Show. Check that out every Wednesday. We're on all sorts of social media as well. Until next time, fellow imps, keep it unreal. Especially if it's forbidden.